Okay, this is an important exercise. Um, it incorporates commands from chapters 3, 4, and 5. It also reviews the topics of adding VLANs to switches and configuring router interfaces. Another one is Inter-VLAN routing, and we have 4 parts to this exercise. So as stated in the instructions, we're going to test the connectivity without Inter-VLAN routing, then add VLANs to the switch. There's only one here. Then also configure sub-interfaces. So we're going to have one router which is connected to the switch, and the connection to the router is on one interface, as you can see in the topology. But the VLANs which we're going to create, you see that they're marked here VLAN 10 and VLAN 30. They'll have to share this one physical connection, one port. So here's another instance for of the topics of physical and logical in the computing equipment kind of being in the discussion. So we're going to have to subdivide this interface into 2 sub-interfaces so that the inter-VLAN routing can take place, and we won't have to use any more connections and cables for this. Then we will again test the connectivity with inter-VLAN routing after we set it up. So creating these VLANs is in part 2. Just to make sure we understand what we're looking at, let's get into the switch and show VLAN brief. Look at what we have pre-programmed by the Cisco Education Department for us. And as you can see, the default VLAN is here with all the ports assigned to this VLAN, fast Ethernet and gigabit Ethernet ports, all in one place. Okay. So, however, for part 1, we need to ping send a ping between PC1 and PC3, and they say because the 2 PCs are on separate networks and R1 is not configured, the ping fails. It's a little misleading, because if you simply build a network like this without the router there, the ping will go through. So after attaching the router, the LAN, which has a switch and 2 hosts on it, turns into 2 networks, but the router isn't working yet because it's not configured. So as I said, if you build this network without the router on a clean file in the packet tracer, the ping will go through, provided the PCs have the IP addresses assigned. Okay, so let me do my usual thing, just copy the IP address from the instructions and do the quick ping command here. We'll watch it work. Maybe I should pause it for, yeah, just to save time. Okay, we have a complete loss here. And now proceed to the next part. We need to add the VLANs to this switch. Why a switch? I don't know. Okay, we have just one switch here. So the topology calls for VLAN 10, VLAN 30. Let's do just that. Okay. Okay, VLAN 10. And also VLAN 30. Get out. Okay, now let's do this. See what we've got there. Exit. Show VLAN brief. And now we see our VLANs here that we have just created, but as you can see, none of the available ports have been assigned yet. We're going to do this soon. So the default VLAN is still listing all the ports that were attached to assigned to it before we created the VLANs. Okay. So for VLAN 10 we have F011 interface right here, and for VLAN 30 it's Fast Ethernet 06. So what we need to remember is that there are two types of switch ports, trunk and access. So we're going to turn these into access ports, starting with the Fast Ethernet interface 11. So it's going to be the access port, switch port mode access, and it's going to work on VLAN 10. So, VLAN 10. We're going to keep it on. No shutdown, and then do the same for switch port Fast Ethernet 6. Okay. 6. So same command here, but the VLAN number is going to be different. That's 30. Once again, no shutdown. Get out. Or we can use a different command just to make sure we're covering a lot. So now show VLAN brief is going to produce a different output. We see that the newly created VLANs now have the ports assigned to them, and obviously the default VLAN has lost those ports. That's what we needed to do. Okay, now if we do the ping, we know for sure the ping will fail. They're definitely on different VLANs. So just to save time, I'm not going to do this ping command. But you go ahead and do it just for practice. Be sure that you copy the correct IP address from the addressing table, so you save time and don't make any typing mistakes. The next step will be to finally use the router connection. Yeah, okay, we just produced this. Okay. So what we had way back when in chapter 5 is 8021Q encapsulation, which is what takes place on the sub interface. So once again, we're going to subdivide one physical gigabit connection into two logical connections, and that's where the notation slightly changes. You see this dot 30 is appearing here, and that's indicative of the presence of subinterface. All right. Okay. The router. The final getting into it. Let me pull this up a little. Okay. Okay, first one we need to create is 0.0 subinterface. Okay, I'll just copy it. Then this command calls for specify encapsulation we just talked about, and it's typed like this: .1q for VLAN 10. Then for PC1 it gets this address with the specified subnet mask. And copy the mask. Okay, I hope you can see this. I'll pull this up a little bit. Okay. And we do the same for VLAN 30 and the PC that's on it. Let me push this down a little bit. This one for VLAN 30. And the IP address there, this one. Okay, get out of subinterface configuration, and what we've done is subdivided this one. Specify here, and making sure it's going to stay on. No shutdown. Okay, let's get out of here to run the show command. But this one is going to be not for VLANs but for the interfaces. Okay, let me make it a little more readable. Okay, we've got our sub interfaces and no shutdowns, they are up. Okay, so we're done with the first switch mode for the switch, which was the access. Now we're going to assign the trunking property to it, so we need to get out of the router. You can see that the red lights have now turned green. Okay, back to this switch. Now let me get out here and look at the VLAN brief. Okay, we have gigabit ports here. That's the ones that are going to be connecting to gigabit ports on the router. Okay, let me shrink this now. Okay. Now This is the one which will be in a trunking mode. So the fast Ethernet connections are in access mode. Okay, get out. And next show command is show interface trunk. I mean, once again, stretch it a little. And that's what we were after. 1Q encapsulation, 802, 1Q. We got trunking, and it's on with VLANs allowed. The default one and the two ones that we have set up here. So this is everything. We now have 60 out of 60, but yeah, if we try the ping once again, from PC1 to PC3, we only have 25% loss. So now they can talk to each other, which was the goal of this. And they're going through these sub interfaces on the trunking connection to the router, which we have set up.